host, Katie, and with me is Carrie.
Hello.
You can watch this live stream over on our YouTube channel if you just so happen to want to see our faces and some of the QR codes that will direct you to some of these books. Plus, there will be a list of affiliate links as well if you are interested in purchasing any of these books. We are going to be talking about some great nonfiction reads that are coming out in March of 2024. So I hope you're excited. There's a lot of cool witchy books. In fact, Carrie's got her first witchy book, I think, first.
I did want to point out, however, that we don't have any of these books except for The Art of Darkness on hand. We haven't read them yet. We just found out that they're coming out and we wanted to share them with you. And I do own The Art of Darkness, but I cannot find it in my super messy office.
No.
But before we start off the live stream, I want you to see the look on Katie's face. And for those of you listening via podcast, I'm so sorry. I'm going to hold up an adorable stuffed animal. And it is a squishable mini plague doctor, which I have an addiction to these cute plush toys.
They're evil.
They made a haunted mansion version, but it has nothing to do with Disney. He's got a little vest with spider webs on it and a little spider bow tie, and his hat has a spider web on it, and it's really plush. Now, it's not a Squishmallow, it's by Squishables, and there's an affiliate link on an QR code on screen if you take a screenshot of it if you're watching on your phone, or scan it with your camera if you're watching it on a TV or a computer. But also, she's sold out right now. He has a wife, of course. He has a plague nurse, and she also is dressed like haunted. She has a spider web on the back of her little hooded cowl, little tulle skirt. She's adorable.
I love her.
Yeah. So when you purchase these items, we get a small commission from Amazon that helps us keep the podcast running, but we do it for passion, not for making lots of money. So the first book that I wanted to chat about today is The Art of Darkness, The History of Goth, and I wish I could find my copy, which I haven't read yet. It has Susie from Susie and the Banshees on the cover, hugging, almost, Robert Smith from The Cure. It's awesome. It's also on sale today, about $5 off. Well, $4. I'm bad at math. I need more caffeine. So The Art of Darkness is by John Robb. The paperback edition came out February 20, 2024. It's the first comprehensive history of goth music and culture. It is massive. It's very thick. John Robb explores the origins and legacy of this enduring scene, which has its roots in the post-punk era. So post like 1976, 77, etc. John Robb was a musician and journalist, and he's going to cover the style, the music, and the clubs that spawned goth culture, alongside political and social conditions. He's looking at this from the British UK perspective, where it all started, and of course it came across the pond, and Americans got it a couple years later. So this book features interviews with Andrew Eldritch from Sisters of Mercy, although he doesn't like goths and says that he's not one, and that's fair. You can tell people if you're goth or not, but your music is really goth and goths love it.
What is he then? Like, how does he identify?
Probably a rocker.
Okay.
So, or nothing, or just himself.
Yeah.
So there's also interviews with Killing Joke. We're definitely on the post-punk side of it. Bauhaus, The Cult, The Banshees, The Damned, Neubauten, Johnny Marr from The Smiths, Trent Reznor, Adam Ant even, Laibach, The Cure, Nick Cave, and many more. It offers a first-hand account of being there at the gigs and clubs that made the scene happen. Manchester University Press published this. If you are new to goth, definitely grab this and read it to catch up on the history. It's going to be super interesting. And I can't imagine running as many dark websites as I do, and goth bookstagrams and goth shopaholic, dark side of the net, without having this on my reference shelf. So that's The Art of Darkness, The History of Goth by John Robb. And now I'm going to shut up and let Katie do some talking.
Oh, you're fine. I was fascinated because I need this too. I need to educate myself. So my first book of today is Black Witches and Queer Ghosts, Race, Gender, and Sexual Orientation in Teen Supernatural Serials. This is a very scholarly book. It is $115 right now on Amazon, just so you're aware. If you want to take a deeper look at it, you can check out our QR code that's on the side here. So this has 13 essays that center on supernatural serials like TV programs, video games, anime and manga featuring teen protagonists and marketed to teen audiences. So these essays provide discussions of characters in teen supernatural serials who disrupt white cisgendered social narratives and addresses possible ways that the on-screen depictions of these characters who may be POC or LGBTQ plus can lead to additional discussions of more accurate representations of the other in media. This is really interesting. It's a very cool social study of race and gender and sexual orientation, considering our BIPOC people. So this is published by Lexington Books. This is Black Witches and Queer Ghosts. This is by Camille S. Alexander, Eilish, Brazil, Rebecca Brown. Lots of people have contributed to this book. Sounds interesting. I'm hoping I can somehow get a copy. I might have to go to my school library for this. So check that out. What is next for you, Carrie?
I am very excited, although I'm not a gardener type person. I kill plants accidentally. This is Botanical Curses and Poisons, The Shadow Lives of Plants. It's by Fez Inkwright. It comes out March 26th. We're going to discover the folklore and history of our most toxic plants through a beautifully produced, gorgeously illustrated compendium. It is meant to be a coffee table book, so it might well be sitting on mine. In both history and fiction, writes the publisher, some of the most dramatic, notorious deaths have been through poisonings. I made sure to say that extra cheerful. Concealed and deliberate, it's a crime that requires advanced planning and that for many centuries could go virtually undetected. And yet there's a fine line between healing and killing. The difference lies only in the dosage. Ooh, let's see if I can peek inside the book a little bit and see a table of contents. No. I see something about hemlock, of course. Foxglove, digitalis. Apple. Poison apple, Snow White. And a history of poisoning in the book. And I wonder if they mention hydrangeas, because that's what my dogs would munch on in the backyard and they get really sick.
Oh, why?
And they also mention wolfsbane. I know hydrangea can't possibly taste good.
No.
So that is Botanical Curses and Poisons, and that's by Fez Inkwright.
I love that some animals don't have like that self-preservation thing going on. My cat also does the same thing. My next book, let's see if I can find it on the list, is Death, Paintings, and Portraits. This is by Sean Burns, and it comes out March 26th. If you are interested to check out the photos and illustrations in depth, make sure to check out that QR code. So Sean Burns is an artist and a writer, and they explore the nature of death and its tangled relationships with life and love as depicted in art. So death haunts art, especially nowadays. If you look at a lot of modern day illustrations by artists these days, like we love macabre art for sure. It's big and
it's
trendy.
So beautiful. It
is, absolutely. So we have So death haunts art. It lurks in the shadows of Edward Collier's still life as a reminder of our fragile mortality. It overcomes all in Francis Bacon's triptych. And we have Anna Leah Merritt's Love Locked Out, which I am not familiar with. From personal responses to general meditations on the fleeting transience of life, Burns looks at the breadth of historical and contemporary works in Britain's national collection to explore how artists have immortalized death in art. It says here, Look Again is a new series of short books from Tate Publishing. So this looks like it has a ton of different pieces of art, 500 years, exploring what art has to tell us about our lives today, because death and art and all of it. So yeah, all of these explorations reflect on us living. So it's very interesting. So check this one out. If you do love art, it's a great coffee table book. If you are an artist, this is Death, Paintings, and Portraits. This is by Sean Burns.
And I'm looking for my next book. It is Death Row Welcomes You. Oh, thank you. It's a party.
Yeah, hooray.
Excuse me. It is Visiting Hours in the Shadow of the Execution Chamber. It's by Stephen Hale. Melville House is the publisher. It comes out March 26th. So in 2018, after nearly a decade's hiatus, the state of Tennessee began executing death row inmates, bucking the national trends that showed the death penalty in decline. In less than 2 years, the state put 7 men to death, more than any other state but Texas in that time period. It was an execution spree unlike any seen in Tennessee since the 1940s, and it was only brought to halt by a global pandemic. So award-winning journalist Stephen Hale was the leading reporter on these executions, covering them both locally for the Nashville Scene Alt Weekly and nationally for a magazine called The Appeal. He traces the lives of condemned prisoners at the Riverbend Maximum Security Institution and the people who come to visit them. What brought them, the visitors and convicted murderers alike, to death row? The visitors are, for the most part, not activists, or at least they didn't start out that way. Nor are they the sort of killer-obsessed death row groupies, Katie, that such settings sometimes attract. She just likes serial killer books. I
have a problem.
In fact, most cases, they're average people whose lives, not to mention their views on the death penalty, were turned upside down by a face-to-face meeting with the death row prisoner. Hale had unprecedented access to the people that make up this community, and it gave him a perspective that no other journalist has been granted, largely because Tennessee's Department of Correction, understandably, has all but shut off official media access. So this book is going to cover crime, death, and life inside prison, and he writes with humanity, empathy, and insight earned by befriending death row prisoners and standing witness to their final moments. That is Death Row Welcomes You by Stephen Hale, and it comes out March 26th.
All right. My next book is a big one. It's $110. It is for any of you who might be doing horror studies, which would be really rad. So let us know if you are doing that. That would be such a cool thing to study. This is The Ethics of Horror, Spectral Alterity in 21st Century Horror Film. This is by Michael J. Burke and published by Lexington Books. This comes out March 15th. So here's what Kimberly Jackson from the Florida Gulf Coast University says about this book. This examines the theme of spectral haunting in contemporary American horror cinema through the lens of ethical responsibility. So through the unlikely pairing of Derridian and Levincian ethics, which totally over my head, by the way.
I need a dictionary because I don't even know what alterity means. I know what spectral is, though.
I know. I was like, oh, man. So through these particular ethic lenses and popular horror films of the 21st century, our author Burke offers a fresh take on familiar horror tropes like the haunted houses, the ghost story, and the zombie apocalypse.
All three of my favorites.
I know. All of these are like, yes, thank you, please. So Burke argues that the more recent iterations of these themes highlight this particular ethics lens. So Lavinius's stance that ethical responsibility to the other is to, quote, impossible to fulfill, and suggests that restitution and reparation are no longer possible. Whereas in the past, a lot of film would be more about like trying to get like a ghost to its original body so that it can be laid to rest officially. So there's a transition in horror films and how that actually looks. So I'm trying to give this to you in a more layman's terms. This sounds really interesting. This is definitely for people who are in actually studying horror and film. This is The Ethics of Horror. This sounds really, really interesting. This is by Michael J. Burke, and it comes out March 15th.
My next book is a little softer and happier. Yay! We'll take a little break from all the doom and gloom. This is Forest Magic, Rituals and Spells for Green Witchcraft. It's by Nikki Vanderkar, and I think she's written a whole bunch of books. It's illustrated by Ellen Manon. Comes out March 19 from Running Press Adult. Connect to the enchanted mystery of trees, plants, and forests as you engage in green witchcraft, rituals, spell work, and seasonal magic. Crafted by the best-selling author of Practical Magic, not the fiction book by Alice Hoffman, the other one. Forest magic is a guide to befriending the mysterious and wise guardians of our woodlands. Ancient and wise, trees and plants watch over us, sheltering us and guiding us. At the same time, it is our calling to cherish and honor them as we work together in eternal reciprocity. Humans have always lived in mutual communion with the forest, dwelling in its shadowy depths, tending to it as it protects us, trading oxygen for carbon dioxide again and again with each day, each hour of sunlight, and each breath. It is a sacred, magical exchange that we can honor with ritual, spell work, and intention. And Katie and I live near lots of forests and woods because we're in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
So the book is going to explore the year in two parts: the Oak King for the first half of the year and the Holly King for the second half. Each section explores pagan holidays and celebrations. Oh, you know what? My microphone is supposed to be closer. Wow. Sorry. I just noticed.
Oh, no,
I look
you're
over,
fine.
I'm like, oh, my microphone is 10 feet away from my face. Each section explores pagan holidays and celebrations associated with nature's rhythms, rituals, and practices for communing with and tending to the plants that thrive during these times, discussion of the magical properties associated with each tree and shrub. Maybe I can drink a tea that makes me more able to remember my microphone better. So that's Forest Magic, Rituals and Spells for Green Witchcraft by Nikki Vanderkar.
Okay, I have another very scholarly book. What am I doing to myself? This is so much. Okay, so this is Gothic Nostalgia, the uses of toxic memory in 21st century pop culture. This is published by Palgrave Macmillan. This is actually was published in January 31st of this year, so my mistake. This is $121. So another, basically, it's a textbook. I will try to summarize this. Actually, I'm just going to read the publishing notes, so bear with me. This is going to be very wordy, understandably. So this is by Simon Bacon and Katarzyna Bronk-Bacon. This book is an original and innovative study of how Gothic nostalgia and toxic memory are used to underpin and promote the ongoing culture wars and populist politics in contemporary pop culture. Ooh. The essays collected here cover topics from the spectral to the ecological, deep fakes to toxic ableism, Mary Poppins to John Wick, to reveal how the use of an imaginary past to shape the present creates truly Gothic times that we can never escape. These, quote, hungry ghosts from the past find resonance with the Gothic, which speaks equally of a past that often not only haunts the present, but will let it escape its grasp. So this collection will look at the confluence between various kinds of toxic nostalgia and popular culture to suggest the ways in which contemporary populism has resurrected ideological monsters from the grave to gorge on the present and any possibility of change that the future might represent. Woo! So that is Gothic Nostalgia. I want to understand and study this. It sounds really interesting, but this sounds like a more advanced study for me. This is by Simon Bacon and Katarzyna Bronk-Bacon, and it did come out in January.
My next book is The Kitchen Witch, and it is magical and seasonal bakes to nourish body and spirit. Is it a cookbook?
Yay, I hope
it's by Hardy Grant, is the publisher, and Gail Busey is the author, and a whole bunch of people over on Witch Talk are looking forward to this book. So every witch knows that the kitchen is an essential part of their magical practice. And in The Kitchen Witch, self-professed kitchen witch Gail Busey teaches us how to honor the process of baking, to appreciate each ingredient, and to transform our favorite recipes into magical spells to benefit our minds, bodies, and souls. Learn to bake with intention and with the elements: earth, fire, water, and air. Well, duh, we knew that. To create magical dishes, including lemon and lavender cake. Yes, please.
Oh, yum.
Snowy night pudding. And I would totally bake the crap out of this: sage and camembert fritters. Can I have some right now, please?
Oh my God, I'm hungry. My mouth.
And woven in between the recipes throughout, there will be other everyday magic rituals, ideas, and inspiration, as well as encouragement to journal in the book, creating your very own grimoire. So it's much more than a cookbook. It's an enchanted exploration of how baking can bring magic and healing into our lives, using the many energies of herbs, spices, flowers, fruit, and other ingredients. So just wanted to remind for people that just came in, we have a QR code on the screen. For those of you watching on video, you can either scan it with your phone while you're watching or take a screenshot of it on your phone, and then you can click on it in your photos to go check out the item.
Yeah.
So that is the Kitchen Witch Magical and Seasonal, excuse me, Bakes to Nourish Body and Spirit by Gail Busey. Comes out March 5.
I think I'm going to have to get that one.
I think you are. That's so you.
It sounds really, I mean, it sounds tasty too, but it sounds great. So my next book is, this one sounds interesting, and I'm glad it's lighter than the ones I've been having.
Yes, we'll take a little break.
Yes, it is Living Astrology, How to Weave the Wisdom of All 12 Signs into Your Everyday Life. So we're getting into our witchy books. This is by Britton LaRue, and there are beautiful illustrations by Angela George, and it comes out March 5th. So you allegedly are all 12 signs, and I actually kind of like this concept. Going beyond the popular sun, moon, rising astrology, this insightful guide inspires you to expand the possibilities of who you think you can be. Transformational astrologer Britton LaRue teaches you how to embrace the whole of the zodiac with month-by-month invitations to connect with the part of yourself that is each sign. So we don't have to be all confined and categorized like you are a Capricorn, you business savvy person, you. So we can be everything. So for example, if you don't have any major placements in Leo in your chart, you might assume that you don't have any Leo qualities. But when you decide that you are not a Leo, you deny yourself the play, the visibility, and the big-hearted leadership that the Leo inside of you craves. I think this is a great a lot of people don't necessarily resonate with their signs. I didn't for a really long time. So I actually do totally understand this. So I like how adaptable this book is. And I like that it invites us all to explore all of these facets of ourselves. And sometimes these things start to creep up depending on certain circumstances. So I think this is really fun. And if you like astrology, but maybe you never connected with some of your signs, like that was me, this would be a really fun book to have. This is Living Astrology, How to Weave the Wisdom of All 12 Signs into Your Everyday Life. This is by Britton LaRue, and Angela George is a great illustrator. Super fun book.
My next book, I am searching for it. There it is. Pardon me while I quickly add the cover so you can see it. It's called Make Your Own Magic. There we go.
Ooh.
It is a beginner's guide to self-empowering witchcraft by Amanda Lovelace. It comes out March 5. Her other book was The Princess Saves Herself in this one. So this book is an accessible guide to welcoming magic into your life, perfect for beginner witches and the magic curious. As witchcraft grows ever more popular, there are countless introductions and paths into magical practice to choose from. So many that you might not know where to begin. Totally understandable. When you're just getting started, it's easy to be intimidated or discouraged or to feel that there's no place for you in the craft. With Make Your Own Magic, Amanda Lovelace aims to change that. It's an inviting beginner. And I want to add, you don't have to buy your magic. You don't have to spend money. You can get this book from the library, by the way, to practice.
Yes.
You can go foraging in the woods like the ones near my house. So the book introduces the tenets of witchcraft so that you can develop your own practice and your own relationship with magic in whatever way works for you. I love that. I love that. Screw you, gatekeepers. Okay. Yeah. So they offer simple explanations, 20 all-new inspiring poems and words of encouragement, magical journaling prompts, and more. So that is Make Your Own Magic, A Beginner's Guide to Self-Empowering Witchcraft by Amanda Lovelace.
My next book, I have to find, there you are. It is the Modern Witchcraft Book of Moon Magic. This is by Julia Helena Hadas, she also wrote a book that I own. It's Witchcraft Cocktails. So I really like just how she's simplified a lot of things and she's not as wordy, says the person who is super wordy. So this is all about moon magic. This comes out March 19th. Imbue celestial power into your magical practice with this new addition to the Modern Witchcraft series. So she's doing a whole thing that I didn't actually know about, which is cool. So she has an astrology book as well. And like I said, the cocktails book, and she might have one more I need to check. Bask in the Power of the Moon. This book is written to help witches of every level harness the power of the moon. And this book is packed with information to help you understand every moon phase and how that affects your magic and spellcraft, and provides tips on how you can use that understanding to strengthen your magic by becoming in tune with the power of the moon. This is actually something I kind of like. I like it just for, I don't know, meditative purposes. I like the whole moon thing, and I've never actually dove into all of the meanings of the different moon phases and how that actually helps or benefits you in your
I haven't
practice.
either. Yeah.
So it sounds really interesting, and it's not a terribly long book. It's 256 pages. So there are in-depth explanations about the moon's energy and the history in witchcraft, why these phases mean certain things, and what that means for your spells, rituals, intentions, and how to best work with the moon to amplify your witchy powers. There are 50 spells and rituals based on the moon's phases, and you'll find the power of the moon is all you need to make your magic take your magic to the next level. I think it's cool. I love the moon. I've always loved space, so I think learning about all of those things would be really beneficial and cool. This is a modern witchcraft book of moon magic. This is by Julia Helena Hadas. I highly recommend her book. She's pretty awesome.
Our next book I am super excited about. It is Mortimer and the Witches. It's a history of 19th century fortune tellers.
Oh, so cool.
It's by Marie Carter, comes out March 5 from Empire State Editions. So, humor writer Mortimer Thompson went undercover using a pseudonym QK Philander Doesticks. I have no idea. Don't even ask me.
I love it.
And they went undercover to investigate and report on the fortune tellers of New York City's tenements and slums. When his articles were published in book form in 1858, and we really should look this up on the Internet Archive, which is at archive.org. I bet it's on there.
Oh, so cool.
They catalyzed a series of arrests that both scandalized and delighted the public. But Mortimer was guarding some secrets of his own. Oh, hypocrite much? And in many ways, his own life paralleled the lives of the women that he both visited and vilified.
Evil. Oh, man.
In Mortimer and the Witches, author Marie Carter examines the lives of these marginalized fortune tellers while also detailing Mortimer Thompson's peculiar and complicated biography. So, the 19th century fortune tellers primarily lived in the poor section of the Lower East Side of New York, and they offered their clients answers to all questions in astrology, love, and law matters. They promised to cure ailments. Well, they shouldn't have been doing that. They spoke of loved ones from beyond the grave. Yet, Mortimer, or Doesticks, saw them as the worst of the worst evildoers. His investigative reporting aimed to stop unsuspecting young women from seeking the corrupt soothsaying advice of these so-called clairvoyants. Fair enough if they didn't have a lot of money, but if it brought them some comfort and hope, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
He wanted to stop them and expose the absurd and woefully inaccurate predictions of these quote-unquote witches, so I guess fair enough. Marie Carter views these stories of working-class immigrant women with more depth than the original Dostick mocking articles would allow. She presents them as three-dimensional figures rather than the caricatures that he made them out to be. What other professions at the time allowed women the kind of autonomy afforded by fortune-telling? True that. Their eager customers, many of whom were newly arrived immigrants trying to navigate life in a new country, weren't as naive and gullible as Doesticks made them out to be. They were often in need of guidance, seeking out the advice of someone who had life experience to offer, or simply just enjoying the entertainment and attention. So I'm fascinated by this. I'm definitely going to grab a copy. It's Mortimer and the Witches, A History of 19th Century Fortune Tellers by Marie Carter.
That sounds fascinating. I did not know about that.
Me either.
I have 2 books in a row. I'm sorry, I'm going to take up a lot more time.
I'm not offended.
I know. So speaking of history, I should have known about this, but I didn't. So everybody can laugh at me later, I guess. This first book I have, and I hope I grabbed it. It's Pennybloods. It is Gothic Tales of Dangerous Women. And this is by Nicole C. Dittmer. And at first, I wasn't really sure if this should be nonfiction or fiction. I was like, hey, these are Gothic tales. So apparently, in the mid 1800s, the inexpensive publications known as Pennybloods were all the rage in Britain. So this is something I did not know about. Spinning tales of high Gothic drama, violence, and monstrosity. This literary phenomenon was significant for its depictions of dangerous and transgressive women, which inspired such milestone Gothic works such as Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla. So we have in this book, and technically is fiction, but it's got some insights as well from our author, Dr. Dittmer. So we have 10 classic tales. I think I said that already. We have Company of Witches, Femme Fatales, Vampire Mistresses, Deadly Criminals. All of these are awesome, and I'm excited about it. This is 256 pages. This would be a really fun one. If you want a nonfiction, I guess it's kind of like light nonfiction because you get a little fiction in with your nonfiction. So we get to read this cool Gothic drama and then have some thoughts about that alongside the story, which is really fun, and some historical context as well. So this is a cool book. It is Pennybloods by Nicole C. Dittmer, or Dr. Dittmer. Then the other one I wanted to talk about, speaking of bad ladies and femme fatales, we have We Are All Witches, Bad Women to Live Your Life By. Let me see if I can make sure it is on. So if you are interested... Sorry?
The cover. I'm sorry, I just freaked out because the cover is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And I love that we... Oh, go ahead.
A creepy church, a black crow, a white rabbit, but nothing to do with Alice in Wonderland, and a skeleton holding a botanical branch. It's gorgeous.
It is. No, don't
I'll try to calm down.
No, it's beautiful. And I love, it's a little different because it's like, it's pastel. I don't know. It's like got all this dark imagery, but it's all pastel colors. So it seems like really cute. So this one, it is an exploration of the forces at work in one of the darkest episodes of Scotland's history, and to consider their echoes in present day. So here's what this, this is by Mary Kidd, and it comes out March 5th. So from 1563 to 1736, Scotland put thousands of women to death for witchcraft. Their supposed crimes have much to tell us about attitudes to women in the past and in the present day. So this book introduces 16 women who lost their lives or lived in the long shadow of the persecutions. So witches, quote witches, because it's always quote witches. We have Margaret Aitken. So she confessed, implicated others, even aided the hunters before they burned.
Really?
Yes.
Uncool.
I know. We have non-conforming women like Mary McLeod, this is how I would have probably died, I would have had a problem conforming. So Mary saw their reputations tarnished when they did not bend to society's expectations. There's witches who had, it says, creatures of the imagination, like Robert Burns's Nanny, who embodied deep-seated associations between womanhood and the occult. So as stories of suspected witches, healers, and those reveling in the power of magic are told, we imagine the lives of these women not as unlucky victims, but instead fascinating individuals whose experiences have previously been omitted from Scotland's colorful history, now challenging the status quo. As we journey through these 16 stories of women involved in the supernatural, folklore, and healing, we find reflections in modern life and lessons on everything from gender politics in the workplace and reproductive rights to ableism during the COVID-19 pandemic. I was not okay. So I did not read any of the summary before this live stream, and this is not what I thought this book was about. I didn't realize this was going to be a historical novel, exploring
Oh.
Scotland's history. This sounds really, really cool. So this is We Are All Witches: Bad Women to Live Your Life By. This is by Mari Kidd. I'm excited for this one. This is so cool. And I think that's my last book of today.
My final book is also about a witch, and it has an amazing red and black cover with a woman wearing a bonnet. It is The Witch of New York, The Trials of Polly Bodine and the Cursed Birth of Tabloid Justice. And I just had to quickly look up how to say her last name. Thank God there was a YouTube video from the author.
Yes.
The author is Alex Hortis. The publisher is Pegasus Crime. So before the sensational cases of Amanda Knox and Casey Anthony, before even Lizzie Borden, there was Polly Bodine, the first American woman put on trial for capital murder in our nation's debut media circus. On Christmas night, good job, December 25, 1843, in a serene village on Staten Island, I would say formerly serene,
Right.
shocked neighbors discovered the burnt remains of 24-year-old mother Emmeline Houseman and her infant daughter Anne Eliza.
Oh, jeez.
In a perverse nativity, someone bludgeoned to death a mother and child in their home and then covered up the crime with hellfire. Wow, that was
Jeez.
interesting word choice. Okay.
Yes.
So an ambitious district attorney charged Polly Bodine, who was Emmeline's sister-in-law, with a double homicide. The new penny press explodes. Polly is a perfect media villain. She's a separated wife who drinks gin, commits adultery, and has had multiple abortions.
Oh.
Between June 1844 and April 1846, the nation was enthralled by her 3 trials, one in Staten Island, one in Manhattan, and one in Newburgh for the Christmas murders. After Polly's legal dream team entered the fray, the press and the public debated not only her guilt, but her character and fate as a fallen woman in society. Public opinion, as it does, split into different camps over her case. Edgar Allan Poe, which they have misspelled in this Pegasus Crime, you should know better. Anyway, Edgar Allan Poe and Walt Whitman covered her case as young newsmen. P.T. Barnum made a circus out of it. Okay, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
James Fenimore Cooper's last novel was inspired by her trials. Let's look up what his last novel was.
Oh my God.
Do you have time to do that? Wow.
I can.
I didn't know that. So The Witch of New York is the first narrative history about the dueling trial lawyers, ruthless newsmen, and shameless hucksters who turned the Polly Bodine case into America's formative tabloid trial. I have never heard of her. I'm definitely going to grab this. It's The Witch of New York, The Trials of Polly Bodine and the Cursed Birth of Tabloid Justice by Alex Hortis. And I'm so curious what James Fenimore Cooper's last novel was.
It was The Ways of the Hour.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
another one to check out.
It's a courtroom drama of a woman accused of murder and theft, and of the men and women who defend her case. So, courtroom drama, classic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is it for today for Dark Nonfiction Books coming out March 2024. If you are rewatching this now that we're not live anymore, thanks for stopping by. And you can always click on or view the QR codes to go check out the books that we talked about. We'll get a small affiliate commission. Our Dark podcast airs on Wednesdays and Fridays, and occasionally we'll sneak a little mini-sode in there when we've read a good book. Be sure to stop by our Instagram and Facebook and YouTube to check those out too, whichever platform you prefer. And Katie just started a Dark Side of the Library TikTok.
Yes, we did. We're on it now.
Yay. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you